All right, so I just wanted to show off the board that I've been riding and the setup that I've been
you've developed.
Yeah, that I've put together here and been riding around on, which is going to be a Bomb Squad Agent Orange deck with Rojas hybrid trucks with the 160 mil axle width, which I've been really happy with. If I were to categorize this setup, I would say that it is a mutant carving / slalom deck.
Well, because slalom has a very specific meaning already.
What about mutant slalom? I'm running it stock up front. So
Stock Rojas.
Stock Rojas up front. So this is out of the box Rojas hybrid truck.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the yellow bushing on here, which is going to be pretty soft. And then in the rear,
back here,
I've got a custom welded base plate, which is going to be 35 degrees as opposed to 45 degrees.
Bring it to me here.
So it's asymmetric. It's less turny.
So 35 over 45.
Yes. So the majority of the turning is being done by the front.
So that's a very big, that's a pretty big split then.
Yeah. To be perfectly honest with you, I've got it set up this way because I broke the other base plates that I welded together. So this one's working well, and I need to weld more that look like it. That is pretty much what's happening.
Okay.
But it's working really good. And I'm running a harder durometer bushing on the rear.
Oh, that one is the harder one.
That is the harder one. So it's a little bit more stiff and a little less turny in the rear. And then I also have a pair of the orange Otang Kegel wheels on here, which are just awesome.
And then you switch them out with the red kegels according to the temperature that you're
riding. The purple kegels.
Yeah, is that what I said? Yeah, purple.
When it gets hot outside, it's time to go purple.
Okay.
But with the colder weather that we've been having,
but not as cold as we should be having.
Yeah, we call it mid cold. 60-degree weather is where these orange kegels are ideal. And it's been a really good setup. I'm not really good at stand-up drifts, but I do like a responsive, aggressive carving board that I can attack steep terrain with and keep my speed under control by being able to slash back and forth on the pavement and be able to speed check and bleed a little bit of speed off here and there. But I really like how progressive and smooth and responsive these Rojas trucks are.
So about the wheels. So the type of riding you're doing, are you wanting really gripped up wheels, or how do you want the grip and the characteristics of the wheel to respond to your turning?
So what I like most about these wheels is how fast they are. First and foremost, they're like freight trains. They pick up speed and they maintain speed and they roll over obstacles in the pavement really well. They're not harsh to ride, which allows the board to stay stable when it's going over rough pavement, and they are super grippy. When I lay the board over and I'm coming through a turn, these wheels remain hooked up. But when I want to, I can break the rear end out, bleed speed, and predictably hook the wheels back up and change the direction of the board. They're difficult to just lay over and put down big slides with because it feels like they're almost too sticky and want to shut the board down or make the board start to chatter a little bit. But for what I'm doing, I'm trying to stay hooked up in the pavement and maintain speed while feeling like I'm in control. And that is what these wheels do for me.
So you're riding, you're kind of doing like little micro speed checks. You're not like going down straight and then doing a speed check to go back.
I don't want, why would I do that? I'm running super soft bushings. I'm running a tall setup, and I've got big wheels that are softer. To just go straight down the hill and crank it sideways and burn a bunch of urethane is a waste of money. I want to be able to carve the pavement and feel the mechanism of the skateboard truck and utilize the grip of the skateboard wheel.
So you're using the grip to kind of keep you going through the turn, and when you get too much speed, you use the grip of the wheel to slow you down.
Exactly. When I ride, my goal isn't to have to put my hands down. I want to keep my hands off the pavement, and I want to use the truck and the grip of the wheel to control not only my direction, but my speed. And I need a wheel that I can keep hooked up in the pavement long enough to change direction and start turning across the fall line of the hill so that I can maintain speed. But I want to be able to drift it out just a little bit to check speed, but then hook it back up. And if I have to put a hand down, it's for an emergency shutdown. So if I wanted a wheel that I could just grease all over the pavement and lay a bunch of urethane down, then I would use a different wheel. But I prefer a slalom approach where I'm trying to keep the wheels in the pavement and use the technology of the skateboard truck to carve and turn and stay in control.
So I've heard that the Rojas trucks can have a good bit of vibration on them. Is that something you have to address or that you deal with at all, or?
So by vibration, are you talking about like a harsh ride?
Yeah, ride harshness.
Yeah. If there's a gripe that I have about the Rojas trucks is that they're literally too mechanical. They feel rigid. When you hit rough pavement, you immediately know it because you're feeling metal on metal. Even though there's this big urethane bushing on here, it still has bearings that are directly in contact with the kingpin, which is bolted to the deck.
So the bushing is kind of almost an isolated system from the turning.
Completely isolated.
So it doesn't do anything to dampen movement.
Exactly. Which is kind of the trade-off. You know, the reason this truck feels so precise and so aggressive is because it has a physical pivot point that it's revolving around, and it actually has bearings as if it were a skateboard wheel on an axle.
So right there, the bearings.
And then it uses that giant polyurethane bushing as a dampener. And that's what limits the amount of rotation that it's doing on those bearings.
So my other question is the deck. Why are you using this deck? Is this a great deck for what you're trying to do? Why'd you choose this deck?
Well, honestly, we picked up this deck to use as a demonstration for other Planet skate trucks. We wanted to put together a benchmark standard skate setup that had what everybody identified as being off-the-shelf, high-quality, kingpin setup. So we ended up purchasing this deck and I believe a pair of what were they?
The Ronin.
we picked up a pair of cast Ronin Kingpin trucks to set up and use as a control group to compare with other Planet skate trucks. But the program really never materialized, and we ended up with an extra deck, and we saw these Rojas come onto the market, got our hands on a pair, and then I started messing around with welding up these custom base plates and mounted it up to this deck. And I've been really happy with it. I like the shape. It's got some pretty subtle concave. It's for me the perfect wheelbase. I like the width. It looks good. I've only had a couple of problems with wheel bite, which is part of the reason I'm running these risers on top of a truck that's already pretty tall. And the only real problem I have with it is it doesn't have a kicktail. But
it is a speed, family board,
which I've been happy with. It's nice and stiff. It doesn't have a ton of character. You know, there's nothing that I have negative to say about it, which to me means that it's a very neutral skate deck, which is nice because it's unobtrusive. There's no rocker. There's no real, standout feature. But as far as being a good solid test board, it's been perfect.
So you say it's really rigid and without a lot of character. Does that help complement the mechanical feel of the Rojas?
Definitely. When I'm carving hard, it's translating all of my force into the trucks. And that, coupled with the fact that I'm running narrower axles, really makes this setup responsive. Doesn't feel like a noodle. It's very stable, and it's quick and snappy and lively, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Which is why I like running these softer wheels that are really grippy, because I can attack corners and really make fast, aggressive turns.
Sweet. And it sounds like they're really grippy without being like almost pasty and overly, like it's not an overly soft wheel.
Yeah. And that's why I'm so pumped up on these wheels. I can roll into a turn and feel like I'm not losing any speed, and at any moment I can break off the rear truck, bleed a little speed off, and then consistently hook it back up without feeling like I'm ruining the wheel, like it feels like I'm doing on some of the other more grippy wheels out there.
Okay. So have you gone through any pairs of kegels? Is this your original set of kegels?
I think this is my second set, and I've put the most wear on the orange ones, and I haven't burned up the purple ones as much. I don't know. I'd have to double check. I'm pretty sure these are my second pair, but we have a couple of pairs floating around, so it's possible that I didn't totally destroy them before they ended up in somebody else's hands.
Okay. But they've lasted pretty long for you then.
Yeah.
They don't just lose their mass as you ride them.
Yes. And that being said, I have babied them a little bit. I don't intentionally beeline it down the hill and then turn them sideways and burn urethane, because these wheels aren't intended to do that. But they have a very long lifespan if you treat them as a carving and high-speed wheel. So I've been extremely happy with them. I hope that they continue to produce this wheel and refine it even further. So.
Sweet. So what's the does the setup have a name? Have you named it yet?
I haven't. I just call it the Rojas Setup.
Name for the truck. It's not the Agent Orange. It's not the Kegel board. It's the Rojas Setup.
Yep. Because I feel like this is the ultimate setup for the Rojas skate trucks. And I've been really impressed with it. I've tested out a bunch of the other, cast skateboard trucks that are kind of the standards out there. And I feel that this is a very unique truck that has applications for carving as well as aggressive longboarding, which I think is something that's missing in a lot of the other longboard products that I've ridden.
Sweet. So anything to say to wrap it up?
Just that I plan to weld some more base plates together and really try to fine-tune the kingpin angles or the attack angles, and I'd love to get a kicktail on a board that's very similar to this to just make it more of a free ride setup. But cool. Other than that, this is Longboard Technology showing off my ride.
All right, over and out.